Hey Trails Collective, Ian here for the weekly rundown for a week ending July 16th, 2021. So, in this episode I'll take you through, something in the media. We'll take you through some of the registrations that might be about to open, some that will be about to cap out, an FKT on the week, and a pretty good slate of events that ran this past weekend in state-by-state fashion. And we'll take you out with a few of the events coming up this next week. So, hopefully this finds you all doing well. And I don't know, man. At least here in where I'm based in Ithaca, seems like we've gotten rain pretty much, rain and thunderstorms every day for the past month or so. Trails, I think, are pretty soft. My ankle's still wrecked from tearing it late in the race at Manitou's Revenge a couple weekends ago. And then being stupid by going out the next week to do some running and filming at the Finger Lakes 50s and wrecking it even further. So, damn it. Whatever, it'll heal. I'll be back, but I gotta stay off trails for at least a couple weeks here. But let's see. Starting off with something in the media. I haven't listened to it yet, but episode number 145, I think released, might have been last week. From the crew at CULTRA Trail and Ultra Running podcast, and the episode was the toughest trail races in the Northeast on a lineup, and I'm hoping to keep that document somewhat living and modified and updated. That is the article that I released, or articles, a bunch of them, on the toughest races in the Northeast, as qualified opinions weigh in on the matter. For all of you who follow the most excellent CULTRA antics, you'll understand that calling them qualified is probably a stretch in any case or use of the word, but I'm really looking forward to hearing them quite possibly carry on a bit of trash talking on the lineup. So I am, for all of those who have run some of my Red Newt racing events over the past few years, you may have caught my beloved Land Rover Defender 110. I brought it over from England maybe 4 years or so ago. One of, I don't know, a vehicle that I was in love with since I was a little kid, seeing it in National Geographic magazine. It's really a cool and a fun vehicle or truck. But I'm trying to reduce the number of, things in my life to a certain extent, and I don't have a garage to keep it in. And for all of you who might know Defenders, you might know that they just leak. And so I think it'll be better served in somebody who can maybe put it in a garage, keep it out of the rain, and a little bit more manicured. So I am actually driving it out to the Hudson Valley to sell it to an individual tomorrow who saw it at one of my Red Newt racing events. So hopefully he will love it as much as I've loved it. But I'm heading out there tomorrow for a drive first thing in the morning, and I will be listening to the CULTRA podcast on the way out. So looking forward to it. All right, the UltraSignUp Hotlist. New York, my Virgil Crest Ultra is just capped out. Waitlist is now active, and I should be able to pull through at least a portion from that waitlist ahead of event as people drop out. So if you are considering the Virgil Crest Ultras, September 11th, again, this may be a one-year show. I've only committed to bringing it back for 1 year. Better get in on it now, as you might stand to get off the waitlist ahead. Tesla Hertz runs 100K and 10 milers slated for October 9th in Rocky Point, New York, out in Long Island, holding steady at 92% full. 2 spots remaining in the 100K and 3 for the 10 mile. 50K already capped, and 23 spots remaining for the 50 mile, or around 20 maybe. 100 mile distance is still safe territory at the moment. In Vermont, one that I had, I think, somewhat missed. I've also put out, in addition to toughest, an article on some of the most historic events in our region. Goshen Gallop, I'll have to look back, but I think I missed it somehow. They run a 5K and 10Ks that are set for July 17th in Goshen, Vermont, and they are the warning tracks at 93% full. But in the historic nature, this one was started in 1978. This year is going to be their 43rd running, and it's running unchanged since the first year. So, wow, 43 years, that is crazy impressive. So I got to go back in and see if I did miss it, and if I did miss it, add it in there, because that is literally one of the oldest in our region. So that is running July 17th, it's coming right up this weekend. So if you're not in, maybe you're not in at this point, but check it out for a future year. No registrations opening this week, that at least through UltraSignUp, that are on my radar. There may be some on Run Signup or other platforms that I just don't see. FKTs, it was at least those that were reported into fastest known times, which is where I'm getting the results. It was pretty quiet on the FKT front, just one coming out of Virginia. Joshua Thomas, 2 hours 48 minutes for the 14-mile AT roller coaster from Virginia 7 to US 50. This lowered the prior mark set by James Meehan in April of this year by 15 minutes. Feeling the flow, he decided to just keep on going, turning back for the return trip and setting a new mark of 6 hours 20 minutes to shave 2 hours 27 minutes off of Mike Wardian's mark from January. Nice work, Josh. All right, getting into results. So I will take you state by state, and we will get some clips where we have them from the collective, so to speak. So let's start off, alphabetical order. Connecticut, 7-Eleven free Slurpee Day Ultra 60K ran in Meriden, Connecticut. This is one, if I remember right, they're just going from 7-Eleven to 7-Eleven, going after the free Slurpees as aid stations and maybe hot dogs and whatnot. Pretty awesome event. I think maybe last year was the first year that they did it or came up with it, and I thought it was pretty cool. No results yet posted, and given the image and concept of the event, it reminded me first off of the movie Clerks, or Jay and Silent Bob. And so I'd be really surprised if results were actually posted, let alone this quickly. All right, Angevine Farm Half Marathon, Angevine. I think I probably mispronounced that. 2K, 5K, 5K Canicross, Half Marathon, and 50K put on the crew of Steep Endurance. Ran its third year in Warren, Connecticut. The course sounds like a great blend, variable but very runnable terrain. From fields to single track, a little bit of technicality thrown in, and a bit of climbing to keep it fresh. Winners of the day in the 50K went to the non-stop. He's a beast. Daniel Bates in 5:28 with the top female spot going to fourth place finisher Ellen Beth. Ellen lays down a new course record with her 5:57 finish. In the half, Julian Lagambio and Kelly Montgomery. And in the 5K, Brandon Leclerc and Christina Reach. Both of them established new course records, given it's a first-year distance. In the 5K Canicross, Jason Kabula and Anna Garsten. And the 2K Farm Challenge, Eric Chaka and Ava Salamandra. And to cue us in on Angevine and some voices in from the collective, we have top female 50Ker Ellen Beth.
Hi, this is Ellen Beth, and I'm here to talk about the Angevine Trail Running Festival that happened this past weekend in Warren, Connecticut. It's a really great series of events. On Saturday, they have an event where you can run with your dog, which sounded pretty awesome, as well as a shorter race at 2K. And then on Sunday, they had the opportunity to do either a half marathon or a 50K, depending on your preference. This is a wonderful race. I've actually done the event twice now. Last year, I ran the half marathon, and this year I competed in the 50K. I did have a bit of an adventure last year because I did the course in the wrong order. They were actually really helpful in still figuring things out for me, so I did still run the complete distance. This year I tried to pay better attention. There are also really awesome volunteers who were super helpful in encouraging all of us and directing us through these loops. When you start out, you are doing loops through a farm. It involves fields, surprisingly, and you are actually going downhill as well as uphill. Some of the uphills are pretty challenging, particularly when you are on your second visit for the uphills. After you go through the farm, you are going through basically single track trail. It's a lovely trail. I've been out to hike part of it. They do have nice trees to keep you shaded. There's also a lot of mud, particularly this year. It had rained. That ended up creating a lot of puddles. The mud was pretty significant in some areas. My first time through, I was jumping from rock to rock. On the second time through, I was just running through the mud. They also had a fair number of blowdowns. There was a great crew who I think even really removed a couple blowdowns during the race, but it was an adventure to tunnel through those. That added to the challenge. The race did go pretty well for me. There were other runners around. I did pace with some of them. Laura Becker was really helpful, so I appreciate that. Thank you. I also found that they had great aid stations. I'm not always the best about my nutrition or hydration, so I did cramp up a bit when I was returning on my second 25K, but they had some nice food at the aid station. They helped me out. I did some gummy bears. They had some cookies, and it actually helped with my cramps. Prior to that, I had been a little concerned I was going to have to walk the rest of the race or return to the aid station and get a ride. I was the first female to complete the course. That made me pretty happy because I really was surprised that I won. It was my second 50K. I did better than anticipated. It's always nice when you really are just expecting to get out there and do it, and then the race goes pretty well for you. At the end, it was a lot of fun. They had some nice prizes. People were very nice to just chat with, and beautiful scenario, nice views, good snacks. Pretty challenging course though. It took me a really long time to get the mud off after the race. I was in the shower for a while. I would definitely like to just thank Brian and all the volunteers for putting on a great event, as well as thank Steep Endurance. Thank you.
Nice work, Ellen, and congrats again on that course record. That is pretty awesome. As well as 5K Canicrosser Anna Garsten.
Hey guys, my name is Anna Garsten. I'm from North Haven, Connecticut. I'm here with my 2-year-old Lagotto Romagnolo Sora. That's a fancy term for Italian water dog. This weekend we ran the 5K Canicross event at the Angevine Farm Trail Festival in Warren, Connecticut. The event is put on by Steep Endurance. There were 2 days. The first day, Saturday, was a 2K, Canicross 5K, 5K, and the second day was a half marathon and a 50K. You can always count on Steep Endurance for 8+ events here in Connecticut and also in New York. So I was really excited to see that they had added a 5K Canicross event. So admittedly, I'm a beginner to Canicross. Sora and I have been running a lot more recently on trails, but I have not run in a race before with her. So I'll just show you the gear that you need to do this. She wears this special harness from Howling Dog, Alaska. I wear this special belt, which looks really complicated, but is easy to get on and very comfortable. And then we're attached together by this bungee leash. It's a 6-foot bungee leash. So just to give you the gist of Canicross, normally you don't want your dog to pull on a leash, but in Canicross, that's exactly what you want. Your dog is in front of you and your dog is pulling you. So conceivably, you could go faster than normal. As for the event itself, it was held on the beautiful Angevine farm. There are many rolling grassy hills. The course itself had many of these grassy hills and then some wider single track. The elevation gain, according to my watch, was 732 feet, so it was not necessarily a flat course. There were 8 owners and dogs signed up, so it was a very small field, but everyone was very enthusiastic. I think the majority of the runners were first-time Canicross racers, so it was like kind of fun and exciting. I had mentioned the race to my speedy trail friend Jay, so he was there with his family and his adorable dog Holly. So I typically don't care about how well I do in races. I don't enter so many races. And for this race, there was even less of a pressure and expectation because of course you can only control your dog so much in terms of how fast they're going. So I was very relaxed, which was a good feeling. The race starts with a grassy downhill, and Sora was definitely running at that point. There was a question of sliding down the grass, but fortunately she's just 30 pounds, so it wasn't too big of an issue. About a third of the way through the course, I gave Sora some water, took out my little collapsible water bowl, and unfortunately, I guess it dropped out of my pack because the next time I wanted to give her water, the water bowl was not there. So I did feel kind of badly for the second half of the race. I think she was quite thirsty. We had skipped a little kiddie pool that Steep Endurance had put out, which was really a great idea, but I knew that once she got in that pool, she was never going to come out. So I certainly would rethink my water bowl situation for the next 5K Canicross event that I would do. In the end, I was leading Sora more than she was leading me because of her tiredness and thirst, I think. So she was sort of trotting slowly at the end. We were, I guess we were second for a while. We were a Basenji overcame us, then a Brittany, but then we overcame the Brittany in the end and we ended up third. Not that it really mattered to me, but it was a really fun finish there. My friend Jay came in, not surprisingly, 5 minutes before the second, third, and fourth placers. So a few lessons I learned, a couple of lessons I should say. First, make sure you have a good water bowl situation. Don't lose your water bowl for your dog's sake. Secondly, make sure your harness is in good shape. And the reason I say that is because there was a runner in the race who just at the start, her dog's harness separated from her belt and the harness had actually broken. So I felt really terribly for this owner. The dog was extremely well behaved, no problem for anybody else, but unfortunately she was not able to finish the race and it turned out she had driven 4 hours to be there. So hopefully she, has a backup next time or just can make sure that her harness is in perfect shape. In sum, it was a really fun event from every angle except maybe the water bowl angle. I really loved seeing the other owners share this joy of running with their dogs. It can really create a special bond. And I want to really thank Steep Endurance for putting on this event and including the doggies in it, which was really awesome. And I'll always go to their events, but I really hope they hold this again next year and Sora and I will be there next year. And maybe we'll be looking for some other Canicross events here in the New England area. Thanks for listening. Bye.
And so Anna, thanks so much. And pretty cool on Canicross. That's one that really wasn't on my radar, I think, until a year or so ago. And I feel like a couple more are popping up here and there. And it just seems like a pretty cool concept. Obviously, a lot of runners out there with dogs. And I don't know, it's pretty cool. So at some point, hopefully I can get in on one of those. All right, bouncing, let's see, at that point, south, slightly west to Maryland. The Catoctin 50K and Half Cat ran in Frederick. This is one of the also trail event elders in our region. First running was in 1995. In the 50K field, Nicolas Cruzier took the day and win with the second fastest time in event history and narrowly missed the course record in a time of 4:39. For the women's field, Michelle Miller took the win in 5:42 and inside of the top 10 overall in 8th place. In the 25K, only 4 years old as a distance, Felix, I won't get your last name, Choquet, took the win in 2:39 with Jana sheesh, you all challenged me here. Fridrikova, second overall in 2:42, both establishing new course records. And then actually the top 3 men and top 4 women were all under the prior record marks. And my week was actually really time crunched this week. I lost losing a couple work days, so I'm a little behind the 8 ball on making some of these contacts. So I didn't get a chance to check in with finishers of the Catoctin, but a great event to check out. And again, one of the longer running ones. All right, Massachusetts, Chesterfield Gorge Ultra and 25K, directed by the most able Amy Rozecki of Beast Coast Trail Running. I'm assuming Brian was in the mix there as well, but I guess I shouldn't assume that. Ran in the most beautiful Chesterfield Gorge in West Chesterfield, Mass. Runners are able to choose their distance from 25K, 50K, 50 mile, 100K, or 100 mile, and it uses a 15.5 mile out and back format along the Westfield River in Chesterfield Gorge. And this is one that was also on my radar, checking in with Brian and Amy earlier when I was doing some research for the articles, of one of the most scenic in the Northeast, and in this case in Massachusetts. It made my top 3. It does really look like a beautiful course and has a good low-key classic vibe to it. I'm not sure on the results, as it would take a licensed detective to find them, But for a photo rundown of the event, head over to the coverage by Chris Riston at Mass Ultra, and I will have the link plugged in the Trails Collective written article. And for our rundown of most scenic regional races, also check out our features on the Trails Collective page, and I'll also link it. And then weighing in on the day, a clip from Carina Halloran. So take it, Carina.
Hi, I'm Carina Halloran from Durham, Connecticut. I ran the Chesterfield Gorge Ultra and 25K this past weekend in Chesterfield, Massachusetts. The 50K, 50 miler, 100K, and 100 miler were all on Saturday. The 25K was on Sunday. There were concerns leading up to the race because there was so much rain about flooding and that they would have to reroute the course, but they didn't end up having to do that. So we got the original course. The course itself is on old Jeep roads and it runs along the river pretty much the whole time. The turnaround point is at 7.75 miles. So, you know, it's a total 15 mile out and back. And because of the nature of that, you get to see everybody who's out there racing at some point over the, you know, over the course of the day. And so because of that, there's a lot of encouragement, high fives, just a really fun time. The race director, Amy, was awesome with communication leading up to the race. She was great during the race. All the volunteers were, you know, right on top of things. So it's just really nice to have that kind of support. The race itself, for me, I hadn't signed up for anything since, I think the last race I did was in the fall of 2019. And I've really just been enjoying kind of deciding whatever I felt like doing each day for a workout. And this is actually the first race that caught my eye. A friend had posted about it on Facebook and the name sounded really cool. It was within a 2-hour drive, and so I registered for it a few weeks ago. And so going into it, I really had no expectations. I just wanted a nice, you know, mellow, steady pace, and that's what I was able to do. I think over most of the race, it is 100% runnable. If you want to run it, there are no, you know, technical sections. So, you know, I was able to, aside from the aid stations, just run the whole course, which allowed me to keep a really nice, steady pace. Hydration, nutrition were all fine. I felt good pretty much the whole time. And I know that's a rarity, so I felt really lucky, especially since the temperature was, you know, 75 to 80 and it was overcast and, you know, only sunny at the end, so I didn't even get beat down by the sun. So I had a great time at this race. It's absolutely gorgeous. It was so low key. It's just a really nice race to come back to. No stress at all. And a shout out to the Connecticut Trail Mixers and Schnipsit Striders. The Striders let me hang out under their tent when there was a downpour before the beginning of the race. One funny story, right after the original aid station, after my first loop, I decided I wanted to lighten my vest up a little. So I took my phone out, I took one of my water bottles out, and I put my phone on the wheel of my boyfriend's car, and I put my water bottle on top. And then the whole second loop, or second out and back, I spent like stressing out that he was going to decide to drive somewhere while I was out running and crush my phone. So that was, I guess, a good distraction over that second loop, and it kept me not focused on, you know, any pain or anything like that. And when I got back, the phone was still intact. He hadn't gone anywhere, so I was very lucky as far as that goes. I would definitely recommend this race for somebody who wants to do a first ultra, you know, first 50K, first 50 miler, just because it's so low key and non-technical. I had a great time, so have a good one.
So thanks again, Carina, for weighing in short order there. And for all of those not already familiar with Chesterfield Gorge Ultra, check it out because it really does look like a beautiful course. So heading further north in New Hampshire, Loon Mountain Race ran in Lincoln. I rated it in our lineup of the toughest 10Ks in the Northeast, third in the lineup. It's been a prior National Mountain Running Champs venue and national team qualifier, the Loon Mountain 10K. Of around 650 finishers this year, the overall win went to Edward Owens in a flying time of 48.28, with Stephen Kerr and Justin Freeman rounding out the podium in just over 52. For the women's field, the win was earned by the always fit, tough, and fast Casey Enman in 56.56, with Cassandra Marin runner-up in 59.37, and Lila Gudralt in just over an hour. My first reaction to looking at these results was, who the Sam hell is Edward Owens? 48 something. Digging in a little bit to the course, it looks like it's maybe 0.7 miles shorter than some of the prior configurations. The course has changed year over year depending on whether it was a national team qualifier and based on worlds. So the format has changed a bit. This year I think there was some construction on the mountain, so they had to shift a section. So it's about 0.7 miles shorter. If I adjust for distance, that would put Edward's time in a prior kind of standardized course in the 53s, which is still really flying at Loon and on par with some of the World Mountain Team members in prior years. Dug in a bit, doing my own sleuthing to try to find out who Edward is, and I think I came up with it. Found him, and looking at some of his track results, they're pretty quick, but they're not crazy fast. So for still relatively unknown, really surprising. I'm assuming that maybe it's an individual with some natural speed there, and it's just been putting in some solid Zach Miller style training in secret or off the radar, so to speak, in terms of events, maybe the past couple of years. He's for sure one to watch and could be a breakout name on the trail scene if he keeps it up. So nice work to all out there, and Tom for putting on for taking over and hopefully putting on a pretty smooth event. And then weighing in on Loon Mountain, second place woman on the day, Cassandra Marin.
What's up? My name is Cassandra Marin. I go by Casey. Last weekend I ran Loon Mountain Race. It is a 6-mile race straight up Loon Mountain in Lincoln, New Hampshire. Gains about 3,000 feet over the course of the race. And I came in second overall. I was the second Casey to Casey Enman. And yeah, it was a good time. So this was my third year doing the race, so I have some experience. And let me say, upper walking boss, it never gets any easier. I mean, you might get faster, but yeah, still an ass kicker. I trained specifically for the event. I did a lot of workouts on the Stairmaster, prepping. My goal is always to try to lower my time on upper walking boss, and I was pretty stoked this year. I did PR that 0.3 mile segment in under 10 minutes, so that was good enough for to earn a preem. So I earned about 250 for fastest, second fastest time up that segment. Starting out, going into the race, I had a rough idea who else was running. I knew Casey Edmond was going to be there, Corey Dow, and her and I kind of go back and forth a lot at these mountain races. She is an awesome downhill runner. Luckily, there's not too much of that at Loon. But I knew Corey was going to be up there with Casey. Right before the start, I actually met Michelle Merlish. She was awesome. Introduced herself, and we started off in a decent sized pack. The start this year was a little bit different, where they were doing construction, so they had to kind of cut off a big chunk of the start, about half a mile. So we kind of started off and went right into climbing, a little bit of a bottleneck. So started off with a group of like maybe 5 or 6 girls, Casey Unman at the front, Corey Dow, and then myself. And I was kind of excited. I thought it was going to maybe be a Casey sandwich at the end with Casey, Corey, and myself. The first 3 miles, I tried to keep Casey and Corey in sight. She's fast on the flats, and the first 3 miles are a little bit flatter. So I was just kind of cruising there, and just trying to keep them in my sight. I know that I'm I'm a little bit better at the steep uphills. So I figured, you know, towards the second half, maybe I could catch Corey or, you know, just try to hold on to third place at least, just trying to podium. And that's pretty much what I did. Come mile 3, you know, started the pretty steep climbs. And I just worked my way up there, caught Corey, and I saw that there was some shifting behind me where there were some other girls, you know, trying to catch Corey. And yeah, I did glance back a couple times just to see, you know, how far off they were. And just got into the grind. I've been doing some ski slope repeats up at Crotched Mountain. So kind of getting used to just grinding away. And that's kind of what I set into, just grinding away at the uphill. Trying to run as much of it as I could, but of course, you know, when it's a really steep 40% incline, sometimes you gotta just, you know, hands on your knees and just crawl, basically. So yeah, that's basically what I did, you know, head down and keep working. And yeah, came out second KC for second female. Pretty happy with that. Other than Loon, this year is a weird one. I have a lot of stuff that's rolling over from last year for races. I don't know what I'm going to be able to run. I am on the competitive entry list for Pikes Peak, and I have the Barkley Fall Classic if I can get out that way. I may also do a beer mile in London for the Beer Mile World Classic. And then I also might do a 50-mile rock carrying 40 pounds on my back in October. Basically give me a niche type of event and I am there. But yeah, I mean, it's a good event. This year was the first year that 603 put on Loon Mountain Race, and they did a great job. I don't think we lost anything in the transition there. Tom always does a great job with his events. And if you're ever able to make it onto the entry list, the event does sell out. So you gotta sign up kind of early if you want to get into Loon, but 603 did a great job this year. And I highly recommend it.
So great job, Cassandra, and good to be linked to you. Thanks for reaching out. And that's pretty awesome. Nice work out there. Bouncing back down to New Jersey. Fat Sass Switchback Challenge, 5K 3 hour, 6 hour, made use of a 1 mile loop in the South Mountain Reservation in Millburn, New Jersey. This is one that's put on by the Sass Squad crew. Kim Levinsky and her crew put on events that, I forget what their motto, I think, is every event is a trail party. They just try to make it fun, really accessible, approachable, and really good vibe. Kim puts a lot of her amazing self into these events, and they just look like good times. So this one, on the weekend, winners included Darwin Aguire and Lisa Kloos in the 5K, Joanna Kadera and Sergey Chepchev, attaboy Jort man, in the 3 hour, and Rosalind Bedoya and Nick Cruz in the 6 hour. And I will, let's see, plug a couple clips that Kim took and sent over from a few Virgin Trail runners. One is the 5K winner in the mix, as well as 4 other women who don't get identified, but I think their first time through and look to be good times on the trail. So I will play those clips back to back here.
All right, we're here with Darwin. First place for the 5K, flying at a blistering pace. This is his first trail race.
Yeah.
How did it go? Tell us about it.
Yeah, it was really fun, you know. I just started running before I knew it. It got really quiet, but it was really enjoyable. The trail was really marked very well, and the start was tough, you know, the uphill. I wasn't expecting that too much, but then the second half was a lot easier. Awesome. So I really enjoyed it. Thank you for having it, and I look forward to the next one, all right?
All right, you gonna do more trail races?
Yeah, I loved it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got 4 first-time trail runners, 4 first-time Sass Squad trail racers. All right, tell us, how did it go?
It was amazing. I thought I was gonna die in the beginning, but that's what I thought, yeah. But at the end,
of the 3rd mile, I thought we had another trail run.
You're ready to go for another one?
Yeah, because I got the hang of it. It's really...
You want to keep running?
Yeah.
No. You can.
It was fun. It was
Yeah,
fun.
But it's
I
nothing
loved
like
it.
road running. Like I run all the time, but I was thinking, like, do I
Yes.
even run? Like, can I
Definitely
do
tougher
this?
than I thought.
Nothing like
a
the road.
challenge that, yeah, it's a different challenge. And
What did you like the most about trail running?
Just being in
The rocks.
yeah,
The rocks.
yeah, just
I don't know what it is.
Just
I love the rocks.
peacefulness.
The challenge of the rocks.
It's definitely more challenging.
I love it. All right, you guys got to do some more trail running.
Yes, we signed up.
Awesome.
Thank you.
All right, bouncing over to New York. The Red Wing Trail Challenge 15K, 60K put on by Steve and his crew at Conquer the World Endurance. Ran at the Red Wing Recreation Area in LaGrangeville, New York. Of 23 first-year distance 60K finishers, Marcin Kulakowski took the win in 6:22. I think fresh off his trip back to supporting his Joanna rather at Western States. But he took the win in 6:22 to set the benchmark course record with Abigail Tracy in 3rd overall for the women's mark. 51 in the 15K, Bruce Hotailing sets a new benchmark of 1 hour 21 minutes with Gabriela Oliveira in 1:24 for the women's benchmark. One put on by the Most Awesome Trails Rock crew out of the Rochester area, the Zero SPF Halfish Trail Marathon went down. Makes use of some of Rochester's best and flowy trails in the Seneca in the form of the Seneca and Crescent trails. I've not run either, but I know of Crescent to be, I think, pretty flowy and pretty sweet. So that's definitely on my list of things I need to run. And so hopefully this event at some point. So of 106 finishers, Phil Nesbitt took the win in 1:45.04 with Shane Urban close behind at 1:46. For the women, Ellie Pell was 4th overall in 1:55 with Hannah Yorkie and Elizabeth Matthews rounding out the podium. So weighing in on the Zero SPF, if we get it in time, I will plug a clip here from Phil Nesbitt.
Hi, I'm Phil Nesbitt. I'm a trail runner from the Rochester area. I currently work down in Letchworth State Park as a park police officer. Been doing that for about 8 years. Got into that because I have an affinity for the outdoors. Same reason I got into trail running. It gives me the opportunity to be able to be outside, be on the trails, be out in an environment that I love. So I'm going to talk today a little bit about Zero SPF Trail Half Marathon. Before I do, I'll just give a quick introduction to myself. Again, I'm obviously a park police officer, but I've been running on and off for about 16 years now. I got into it after initially getting into cycling recreationally. I found running for me seems to be a natural fit for what I seem to be good at. Like most people, I started out road running, started getting into longer distances, started with the 5Ks, graduated 10Ks, just progressed up to a marathon distance. And then I just at some point wanted something different, a little different challenge, something with a little bit more scenery, harder courses. So I stumbled into trails one day. I think my first trail race was the Dirt Cheap Trail Series by Fleet Feet. I found that it was a good fit for me. It's a good competition level, but it's also, I'm not the fastest person, so I tend to benefit from harder courses. And for me, the trails offer that. So it gave me a chance to be a little more competitive than I would have otherwise been on the road. Done a bunch of trail races up to this point. I've gravitated towards longer distances as I get a little bit older. So for me, it meant getting into some ultras. I've done some 50 milers, 50Ks, 100Ks, Twisted Branch. Last year was my first 100 miler. I did Mighty Mosquito 100 miler. It went great. I like the whole aspect of having to worry about nutrition and combine that with pacing strategy, self-care, maintenance, all those things. Everything comes together. And it can have a great impact on your race. For me, it's more of a chess match, which is nice. So I'm not necessarily the strongest runner, I'm not the fastest runner, definitely not the most talented runner, but I can put some of those things together and have a good race. So last year at the 100, for me, it was a good race. I came in just under 20 hours. So for my first attempt, really happy with that. Managed to set a good course record in the meantime, and yeah, just an awesome experience. So it was a good course. Logistically speaking, it was nice too because it's loops. So for first 100, as a newbie to 100 miler, that was the way to go for me. So since last year, it's been obviously last year with COVID, it's been tough to find races to do. It's been hard to stay competitive. So this year I hit the ground running. I trained pretty hard this winter. I was looking forward to getting out and doing some money on the Jenny 40 miler in Letchworth. I always do the courses down in my neck of the woods, just because it's hard for me to get a lot of time off on the weekends. I'm not really allowed days off for the most part, so everything's got to be in the morning. I usually have to be to work in the afternoon. So I planned my race schedule around being able to work after. So I started the season out with Medved Madness 15 miler out in Mendon Ponds, then Saga Honda, which is a trail marathon down in Letchworth. And unfortunately I wasn't able to make it. I had to work for the Mini and the Jenny, so I wasn't able to race. But I was there spectating. It was a pretty great year to be there, watching the record fall and a lot of strong runners. So Zero SPF was the next race on my calendar. I just kind of threw it in to get some speed in. I've been training for some races, but didn't really have any big A races for this year. So Zero SPF was just an opportunity for me to get some fast miles in, hopefully some good competition. It starts in Victor, New York, over near Eastview Mall, which is a suburb of Rochester, just outside of the city. It runs on the Crescent Trail, so it's a very undulating, single track, fairly technical and spot trail. It's got a really good flow to it. Definitely like the trail a lot. So it's in a very densely populated area, a lot of businesses around, so you wouldn't expect there to be a trail there. But tucked away in this little section of woods, there's a nice trail system that connects all the way over, goes all the way over towards Fairport, and eventually connects to the canal. But the section we did was from Victor down to Bushnell's Basin. Again, it's undulating, so it's short but steep, punchy climbs. It's definitely punctuated with some hills. I wouldn't say it's really flat in many spots. You might get a mile stretch maybe where it tends to level out, but all of that's broken up very nicely with some climbs. And it's nice. It's the type of climbs where they don't drag on forever, but you can definitely push up them and come down the other side hot. But as far as the technicality of the course is considered, it's one of the more technical races I think that are in this area, just because of the nature. The trail is a little bit more narrow in spots, which is good. I think it benefits the more technical trail runner, because your speed's really limited on that course by the terrain in some spots. So if you know that going into it, you're able to take advantage of the areas where you can go fast, knowing that some of the more technical sections are coming up and you're going to have to scale back, maybe just for self-preservation. So that's actually what I did. We had a nice two-man race right from the gun. There was a younger kid named Shane Urban. He's a D3 college runner out of Susquehanna College down in Pennsylvania. Never met him before. He became a parent right away. He was a pretty good and talented runner. Definitely better than me. Not probably, definitely better than me. He was stronger than me. I was hoping that I would be able to get him just based on my experience. He's 20 years old. I'm 35 now, so I've been doing it a little bit longer. I've run the course a bunch of times, so I knew what to expect going in. So we started out together, set a pretty good tempo. We were both working. I wouldn't say all out, but it was more of feeling each other out. That whole chess match where, I would push up some of the hills just to see where he was strong and where he was weak. I noticed on the downhills he was lagging a little bit, but he was certainly stronger on the uphills. I listened to his breathing behind me, playing that whole game, trying to figure out where he's at and feel him out. So we were together for about 3 miles, and then after one of the aid stations, he ended up coming around and taking the lead. And knowing that course and knowing how long the day can be, usually it's about a 2-hour race for me. I just let him take the lead and take his own pace. He was breathing pretty heavy for that point in the race, which I picked up on to mean that either he was really fit and just running at the top end and used to it, or he was maybe pushing a little hard on the hills for as long of a race it was. And he did mention at one point he hadn't run that long on the trail, so I figured give him a little leash, see what happens. And he got out of sight, but never that far up. I kept eyes on him the whole time. He was up maybe 30 to 45 seconds, yo-yoed a little bit. I noticed by the halfway mark, I had closed the gap completely, and by mile 6 or so, we were running together again. So I think he might have blown it up a little bit early, but he kept running strong. Definitely, again, he's definitely a better runner than I am. Definitely stronger. It just tactically, I was able to pull this one out. So we came to the aid station together. I gave him my cup so he could get some water, because that was the other thing, is everything was self-serve. He didn't end up having anything to hydrate with. I know it's only 13.5 miles, 14 miles-ish, but it was, the heat, humidity, especially after 2 hours of running hard like that, it gets to you. So gave him some water. waited for him so that we could run together for a little while, and I knew that was my opportunity to take advantage of maybe some momentary weakness. So as we started back, I felt him out on the flats and just pushed the pace, especially in the technical sections, pushed the pace as much as I could, and it was starting to gap him. And then from that point on, just like most trail races, from that point on, I just took the opportunity to get out of sight. When you have a lot of turns like that, especially when it's a dense wood line, you don't have to be very far up to be out of sight. And for me, I know that tends to demoralize people a little bit when they don't see you. I mean, I might only be 15 seconds up the trail, but for him, you don't know if it's 15 seconds or a minute. So that was the goal, just get out of sight, which I did. Just keep pushing the pace. From there, I just kept a nice consistent pace for myself. I knew I was running hard, but I saved a little bit just in case he came back towards the end. And I dropped him at around mile 10 or 11, and by the end, I had a nice minute gap. So minute, and was ready to defend that. So that was a great race. He's a great competitor. Considering I led for a while, he led for a while, and then I ended up leading. It was one of the better back and forths I've had in a long time. I have a lot of respect for him. I think he's a super talented runner, and I think if he continues to do the trails, it's going to be a problem for me in a good way. So I welcome the competition. That race was initially started by Trails Rock, which was co-founded by Eric Egan. It's a local trail running company that they just set up, design trail races, I should say. But they do a lot. They give a lot back to the community. They do a lot in terms of trail maintenance. They give a lot to the community in terms of donations from races to the trail networks. So they're really involved. They've done a bunch of great races: 0 SPF, 0 WTF. Many on the Genu was one of their races. So again, 40 miler in Letchworth. Great organization, great people. Highly respect them. Couldn't say enough good things about them. As far as next on my calendar, I'm looking at Twisted Branch again this year, so that'll be my A race. I have a goal in mind. Last time I ran it was 13:12, so I was top 10. I'd like to go 12.5-ish if I can. I've done some harder races, not harder, but I've done some different races since then, got a little more experience, so I think I know how to meter myself in the long distance. So the goal would hopefully be 12.5 hours. Top 5 would be great, but we'll see. It's all based on the competition. Just go and have a good race. Looking forward to that. So other than that, the great trail running scene here in Rochester. Couldn't be happier about it. A lot of good races afforded to us. Good organization. All the runners are great. Race directors are great. So I'm very happy that I found it, and for me it's been a game changer. So
nice work to all out there. Bouncing down to Pennsylvania, Chernisky Classic 5K and 10K ran in Ebensburg, PA. No results were yet listed. And then the Allegheny Trail Runners put on the Camp Anderson Endurance Shindig. It was a weekend of community and running. They offered a 3-hour, 6-hour, and 12-hour as events. On Saturday, uses the 2-mile course with camping pre and post. Tomas Castro took the 12-hour win with 54 miles, with Danielle Barney, lead female, with 46 miles. And the 6-hour, Gary Lampman topped the field with 30 miles covered, and top femaler was Amber Maruli with 24. And the 3-hour, AJ Kelly with 18 miles emerged on top, with top female spot going to Alexis Stevens with 14 miles. So weighing in, we've got clips from winner Tomas Castro.
Hi everyone, I'm Tomas Castillo. I'm a runner out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and this past weekend got to run in the Camp Anderson Endurance Shindig. It was a timed race. 3 hours, 6 hours, and 12 hours, and then one person took on the 24-hour race. I did the 12-hour race. It took place in Tyrone, PA, which you can see back here. It's probably about right here, somewhere in there. So the race was a, like I said, 2-mile race. That you had your camping and parking and aid station there in the middle. And then about the first mile was kind of on a flatter ground, run through the camp and run along a stream. And then you cross the road and you have a 1 mile of single track that had three hills that successfully got taller, and then a nice fast downhill that led into a flatter finish. So it was 2 miles and 375 feet of gain per loop. Really didn't seem to be too boring of a loop. It never got too redundant. I was able to get in 27 laps or 54 miles and just over 10,000 feet of vert, which was a good goal of mine. It was a fun race. A lot of people were out there, and I was able to bring my family out. And if you've never done a timed race or looped race before, or had family and friends spectate that, it's probably the best kind of spectating for trail running, since you don't have to get up and go to another aid station or find your way in the back roads of wherever you are. So highly recommend it. This race was put on by the Allegheny trail runners. Those guys put on some good races. I know that Ian has put together a comprehensive list of some of the tougher races around the Northeast. And one of Allegheny trail runners raced the Rock and the Knob. Was up there competing against some other races for I think it's the marathon distance. So if you're looking for a race to do, check it out. It's in September of this year. With that, I think that's about it, and have a good evening. Thank you.
And PA's Trail Mama, you're awesome. Whether she's running or volunteering, almost every weekend you'll find her doing one or the other. Jane Kone, and maybe with friends.
Good day, all. This is Jane Kone. I'm going to give you a little bit of a race report on the recent Allegheny Trail Runners Camp Anderson Endurance Shindig, and it was a shindig. It was a great day to be out on the trails. A little bit of history first. This is the third year for the event. It started in 2019. It was nice leisurely loops around Camp Anderson facility. It was pretty simple. In 2020, because of COVID, the event went virtual. So a group of us took a day, went down, set up an aid station, and started our loops. The first loop taught us that the RD didn't think it was hard enough in 2019, so he added some elevation. Despite that, we all decided we'd go back and try to conquer it again. So we showed up, about 15 of us from the group that I hike with showed up, and we started our loops. The first loop, we found again, the RD clearly didn't think it had been hard enough in the past, so he had added some elevation, extended some climbs. So the first part of the loop was pretty nice, but it got more difficult as it went on. So a little bit more on that later. The day of the event, July 10th, it started out about 60 degrees, very high humidity. It was kind of like hitting a wall out there for a bit. As the day went on, I think it ended up being about 77. So not a bad day. The humidity had dropped, so all in all, it was pretty good. The trails that day had a nice mix. There was some mud. There was some technical stuff. There was some very runnable parts. There were beautiful rhododendron patches, beautiful wildflowers. Then you go to the other side. The other side is where the climbs were. And so at the beginning of the day, the climbs were a bit slick because it had been a rainy few days. So you took, or at least I took, 2 steps up, 1 slide down. So it was kind of interesting. That first little bit made me a little bit nervous because I thought that as the day went on, it would get worse as opposed to better. But fortunately, it actually got better. The actual climbs dried out a bit. So it was nicer than it had been earlier in the day. The course was well marked. It was beautiful. It was hard sometimes because you knew the climbs were coming. You did that nice little part, and oh yeah, you crossed the road and there are the climbs. But it was a good day, and it was fun to talk with the people that I hike with and to talk with the people that I've never met before. And we talked about, events we had done, events we wanted to do, just general things, where we were from, what we did as a living. So trail folks are pretty awesome. It's a very supportive group. You come into the aid station and people are cheering for you. You leave the aid station, people are cheering for you. So there's always someone encouraging you to move forward, take that extra step, go that extra mile, or in this case, that extra loop. So it's really a fun time. If you haven't done a loop event, you might want to try it. I thought I'd hate it, but nope, it's a good day. The volunteers were awesome. The RD is awesome. The course was awesome. The food was very, very excellent. Made me a little nervous. I had some bacon and I thought, do bears like bacon? I don't know. But I enjoyed it. So it was a really good day. And along with the fun we had, we got shirts. We got a handy dandy little thermos bag to carry drinks in. We got our cup. It was a couples event. And we got a cooling towel, an Allegheny sticker, and my most favorite piece of swag that I've gotten, my 20-mile sticker. That's it for the day. Happy trails. Bye.
So well done all there. And then one other on the international front. The SkyRunning World Championships just went down. Technically it was from 2020. And I didn't look before filming here. I meant to look and I forgot to look. It may have been in like Madeira, Spain, or someplace like that. In the 42K, the first Team USA runner to finish was PA's Ben Robinson. He finished 19th in 4:57. And in the 68K Ultra division, the top American finisher was Vermont's David Hedges, who finished just on inside of the top 10 in 9th place in 9 hours. So good representation for the Northeast there. And weighing in on the opportunity and the day, 19th place, first American in the 42K, PA's Ben Robinson.
Everybody, just a quick update here. I just returned home from the SkyRunning World Championships in Spain in the Pyrenees Mountains. I competed in the 42K. It had about 9,000 feet elevation gain in the 42 kilometers. And the race was really fast, a lot of competition. It was really stacked. I started off, I went out pretty hard. I went out in the top 10. I was looking to just get in there and compete and see what would happen. Went out with the guys for the first climb. The first climb was about 2,000 feet, and stayed in that top 10 range. And then starting the second climb with about 3,500 feet, my legs didn't have too much drive in them, so I took a couple of extra calories in and tried to keep up. Lost a couple positions at that point, but got up to the top, and probably in about 14th or 15th, and then the last climb was the hardest. It was really steep. It had about 2,400 feet in less than 2 miles. So I had to power hike a lot of that, but then we were up on top of this ridge where you're just on the knife's edge for a couple miles, and that was my favorite part of the course. You can see all the mountains and just miles of landscape. And the last descent was about 7 miles back into town, and we ran right through this big cow pasture, which I'd been waiting to see all week. So that was another cool part of the course. But I ended up finishing 19th, so lost a few positions in the second half, but I'm happy I put myself out there and gave myself a chance. So hopefully I'll get another chance in the future, but until then, I'll keep training, and we'll see you guys out there.
So great job, Ben. And I did also check in with friend David Hedges. If he follows up in time, I will plug it here. All right, upcoming events. This weekend, July 16th, is Hard Rock 100 weekend. Yep, not a Northeast event, but it is one that is on a lot of people's radar. I think it hasn't run since 2018 for various reasons along the way, COVID in the mix. So I think the community is stoked that it is back on. And it was cool to catch on the Virginia Happy Trails Facebook page, and Gary Nippling, or it might have been Keith Nippling rather, posted a photo of the Virginia Happy Trails crew fresh on the scene and out there and supporting and crewing. So I will plug a photo here, but awesome to see such a classic crew out there at one of the, I don't know, most incredible probably trail and ultra events in the world. So good luck to all those that are taking that on this weekend. Big shout out to a friend, Jeff Browning. Hopefully you bounce back from, well, how Western shook out, and looking, well, fingers crossed for you, brother. All right. In our region, July 17th, Night Owl 9K in Williamsburg, Virginia. Kicking Asphalt 5K and 10K in North Conway, New Hampshire. Cacapon 12-hour challenge in Berkeley Springs, West Virginia. The Goshen Gallop 5K and 10K in Goshen, Vermont. And the Chillin' and Grillin' Grillmaster 5K in Wise, Virginia. And then, yeah, that's what's coming up this weekend. We will plug next weekend's next week. Episode will already be pretty sizable here, so I will cut it there. So thanks everybody for checking in. As always, thank you to all those who go out of your way to support what I'm trying to do here in the form of Patreon support. Thank you to all those who just take a minute just to like our channel, to like the posts, and really just sharing each post where you can, whether it be on in your own communities, on your own pages, whether it be in trail and ultra running or East Coast trail and ultra. Any of it helps get the word out there. And I don't always have the time available to go through and make my own posts out there. So please in advance, and thank you in advance to anybody who takes the time to share in whatever venues each one of these episodes or articles, or just to tell friends about us. Thanks to all those who check in after events. Always great to hear from the field. Let us know what we miss. Let us know if you want to weigh in on certain events, or if you have events coming up, whether it be trail work parties, gatherings, races, what have you. For sure, reach out. And hopefully I can weave you in here. All right, thanks for tuning in. I will catch you next week. And until then,